Most people think building good habits is about motivation or willpower, but neuroscience said it's not. Your brain doesn't care about motivation. It cares about efficiency. And that's exactly why habits are so powerful. They're your brain's way of saying, let me handle this for you. But here's the thing. That same system that helps you brush your teeth every morning is also the one that keeps you scrolling late at night, biting your nails, or hitting snooze for the 5th time. Today we're diving deep, not just into how habits work, but why your brain forms them, how you can build new ones that last, and the real science behind breaking the bad ones that hold you back. Part 1. The hidden system running your life. Scientists at MIT discovered something fascinating in the late 90s. They found that deep inside your brain sits a structure called the basal ganglia, the control center for pattern recognition, routines, and habit formation. Here's what it does. When you repeat a behavior often enough, your brain moves that action from the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part, down to the basal ganglia. Why? Because your brain is lazy in a smart way. It wants to conserve energy. When something becomes a habit, you no longer need to think about it. That's why you can drive home and not remember half the trip, or grab your phone without even realizing it. Your brain runs on a system called the habit loop, which has 3 main parts: cue, routine, and reward. Let's break it down. The cue is the trigger, something that signals your brain, hey, it's time for this behavior. It could be a time of day, a location, an emotion, or even another action. The routine is what you do in response to that cue, the behavior itself, and the reward is what your brain gets out of it. A small hit of dopamine, that chemical of motivation and pleasure. Over time, your brain starts anticipating that dopamine even before the reward happens. Just thinking about it releases dopamine. That's how habits lock in. You don't crave the cigarette or the scroll or the cookie. You crave the feeling your brain expects from it. That's why habits feel automatic, because neurologically they are. Part 2, how to build habits that actually stick. Here's the truth. Building a new habit isn't about becoming a different person overnight. It's about rewiring your brain, one small signal at a time. This process is called neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural pathways. Every time you repeat a behavior, you strengthen that pathway, just like walking a trail through grass. The more often you walk it, the clearer and faster it becomes. So how do you build habits using this science? Step 1, start ridiculously small. Your brain resists big, intimidating goals. If your habit feels like a chore, your mind will find excuses. So start with something your brain can't say no to. 1 push-up, 1 page, 1 journal entry. Step 2, use habit stacking. This is a psychological trick called anchoring. Attach your new habit to something you already do. And if I make my morning coffee, then I'll write down 3 things I'm grateful for. That cue builds context, and your brain loves patterns. Step 3, make it obvious and satisfying. Put your cues in your environment. If you want to work out, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to read more, leave the book on your pillow. When your brain sees a cue, it triggers the loop automatically. And when you finish, give yourself a small reward, a sense of completion, a tick mark, even a nice job out loud. That reward is what releases dopamine, the chemical that says, do that again. This is how habits form, not through massive effort, but through gentle repetition, until your brain says, okay, this is who we are now. Part 3, why breaking habits feels impossible, but isn't. Now let's talk about the hard part, breaking bad habits. If you've ever tried to quit something, you know how strong the pull feels. That's not weakness, that's wiring. The old neural pathway is still there, and when the cue appears, your brain automatically fires it up. The key isn't to delete a habit, that's impossible. Your brain doesn't erase loops, it replaces them. That's why the most effective way to break a habit is to keep the same cue and reward, but change the routine. Example, you feel stressed. Cue, you usually reach for your phone, routine, and your reward is a sense of escape or distraction. Instead, when you feel that cue, replace the routine. Go for a 5-minute walk, breathe deeply, stretch, write, drink water. Same cue, same reward, different wiring. Over time, your brain learns, oh, this new routine gives me the same reward. And that's when the old habit starts to fade. But here's what most people miss. You can't rely on willpower alone. Willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. Instead, use environment design. If you want to break a bad habit, remove the cue. Out of sight, out of brain. Delete the app. Hide the snacks. Charge your phone in another room. Because when the cue disappears, the loop weakens automatically. That's science, not self-help. Part 4. The psychology of reward and resistance. Why is change so hard? Because your brain doesn't care about your long-term goals. It cares about immediate rewards. The basal ganglia evolved thousands of years ago to help humans survive by repeating what felt good. Eating, resting, staying safe. In the modern world, though, that same system works against you. Now, dopamine doesn't just come from survival. It comes from sugar, social media, gambling, or instant gratification. So when you try to start reading, or exercising, or meditating, your brain says, where's the instant hit? And when it doesn't get it, it resists. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. You're not fighting laziness, you're retraining your dopamine system to love long-term rewards again. With every repetition, your brain releases a little less dopamine for the old habit and a little more for the new one. And that's when momentum kicks in, when discipline turns into desire. Part 5. Self-directed neuroplasticity, the secret weapon. There's one more piece most people never hear about: self-directed neuroplasticity. This is when you consciously rewire your brain, not through repetition alone, but through awareness. Every time you reflect on how a habit makes you feel, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the rational, conscious part of your brain. That's how you regain control over automatic behaviors. So instead of judging yourself, pause and observe. What triggered this? What was I feeling right before? What reward am I chasing? That moment of awareness pulls you out of autopilot and gives you space to choose a different response. That's the real science of change. Not suppression, but substitution. Not punishment, but understanding. Part 6. The long game of transformation. Now let's get real. You can't rewire your brain in a week. Research from University College London found that it takes anywhere from 18 to 254 days to make a new habit automatic, with an average of 66 days. But every repetition, every micro-choice counts. You don't build habits to become perfect. You build them to become aligned, so that your daily actions match the life you want. And one day, you'll wake up and realize, what used to feel like discipline now feels like freedom. Here's the truth. You are not broken because you struggle with habits. You are human, and your brain is simply doing what it's wired to do. The power isn't in fighting your mind, it's in training it. So start small, be consistent, be patient, because your brain is always listening. And every time you choose the right thing, you're literally changing its structure. That's not magic, that's neuroscience. And that's how you rise. Not by force, but by design. This is the everyday rise. Because real growth isn't a burst of motivation, it's the science of becoming who you were meant to be.